Good evening, everyone. So here we are again, back to the second edition of the Teachers Online Competition. I thank the organizers of this competition for this chance. Thank you very much, and the manager. Today, my name is widad chabane. I'm an English teacher and an author from Vijaya. Today I'm going to talk about not about grammar or about anything else, but about how to write a novel. Since I'm an author, so this topic is very interesting to me, and I wanted to help people to get to know how to write a good novel and to get published and to be known as well. So here is the first thing you gotta know. In order to be an author, you have to have many things. Like passion, you've got to be passionate about writing. In order to be passionate about writing, you have to read. No writer is going to be a writer without reading. Like Stephen King said, readers are writers and writers are readers. And consistency and persistence. You've got to write every day, having a journal to write what you see, what you hear, making notes, because that's what makes a good writer. And of course, you have to have confidence. You've got to believe in your instincts, because writers are not born, they are made. I don't believe that you're born like a writer with some skills, but you have to learn them, like how to read, how to write, grammar, how to make a story better. So all these things are to be learned, they are not be made. Imagination, of course, how to grow your imaginations, we are going to refer again to reading. You've got to read and watch movies, and even if you can travel, it's the best thing to immerse your imagination. And researching, now we have ChatGPT, we have internet, Google, Facebook, we have everything between our hands, so we can have it all. No need to say that I can. Now before I start writing, I've got a question. Are you a penciler or a planner? Plotter. So a planner or a plotter or an outliner is a person who makes plans and organize everything before start writing. I'm the kind of person who start writing. J.K. Rowling too is an outliner. She outlines everything, characters, backstory, world building before she even digs into writing. And there are other types of writers which are pantsers that just go right directly and imagination flows directly. But even the pantsers are also having taken some notes before even write, because you need to take some notes at least to know where the story is going. Here in Plot Panther, we've got like Stephen King. Before he goes to bed, he tells himself a story and he writes it. But personally, I'm the kind of outliner. I've got to know everything beforehand before I start writing. Okay, and so here, the first step to writing a novel, you've got to have a story idea. Where do we get idea? We've mentioned it before that reading is very important, and it's the first source of having idea. We have personal experiences, like we all have experience in our life, all good or bad. So first books and literature, it is also for reading, talking to people, current situations, travel, when we have dreams and social issues, we can look around us. Simply a writer, in order to be a writer, you have to be a good observer. You have to see all what happens around you and write it down. This how ideas come from. But if you don't do anything, just sit home and between the walls and wait for an idea, that won't happen again. So ideas are coming through time, through observation, through reading, through watching a movie, through having heard many things. So when you decide your idea, of course, you put it down, you write it in a notebook, and then you decide what genre and audience. First of all, let's start by an audience. What is an audience? Audience. What kind of person I'm writing to? Am I writing to young people? Am I writing to old people? I have to decide the category of person that I'm writing. Like J.K. Rowling, for she's writing to young people, but still old people can read it too. This is how you choose category of persons. And the genre, we have many genres in literature. We have romance, and in romance we have historical romance, erotica, horror. We have horror novels, we have action fantasy novels, and we have dark fantasy, um, fantasy like Harry Potter, and thriller. We have war, drama, crime, like Agatha Christie. She's the queen of crime novels. We have sci-fi. So we have to be more selective. Not more selective, but to be very specific and selective in your genre. You have to know what you are writing about. So idea, then the genre. And before moving to the genre, you have to read a lot about your genre. Like me, my book is about historical romance, so in a Victorian period, so I've read many books about this era to get to know their their writing, their way of living, etc. It's kind of research. Now, of course, even even if you know the idea and what you want to write, you have to know what makes a good novel. A novel has techniques. Before you write a novel, you don't just write everything like that. You have to follow many things in order to be uh, great. Okay, so we have the elements of a novel. We have characters, theme, conflict, plot, point of view, and setting. I'm gonna talk more about this. So first of all, theme. Your novel should have a theme. What are you talking about? What is your theme? Is it love? Is it war? The general theme. So a theme is the general idea of the story, what the story is about. This is also the central idea running throughout the story. And the theme is the lesson that characters will have learned by the end of the story. Like for example, the character has your main character has suffered in his life and then achieved success throughout the story by failing each time. So maybe here the theme will be uh, working towards success. This is what is the theme. You have to know the theme of your story. And the characters. Characters are very important because they drove the story. We cannot build a story without characters. And of course, we have two kind of characters. We have antagonist, which is a hero. Maybe she's a girl or he's a boy. We may have two, hero and heroine, which is the main character who drives the story. And by the way, when you write a protagonist, you have to make the reader care about him, to make his journey important. So when I read a novel, I have to sympathize with a protagonist. I have to be more curious about his life. And antagonist, which is the totally opposite of the protagonist, he's doing evil things. He's doing the conflict. So characters are driving the conflict, driving the plot. And antagonist is the force that makes the protagonist fail again and again. And of course, at the end, the protagonist will win. Like here in Harry Potter is the protagonist and the antagonist is Lord Voldemort. Point of view. Of course, this is an interesting one. A point of view, you may have heard about it, but you didn't understand it well. So I did before. So what is a point of view? Is how the story is being told. Like it is a third person or a third person choosing a point of view. Like first person past, for example, I had a bad dream. This sentence I have taken it from Virginia Woolf book. Third person past, she drew in a long breath of satisfaction. So here she uses the third person to express a point of view. And here we have, okay, let me see. We have first person present. I shall never forget my first sight of Mary Cavendish. She is Agatha Christie. She's talking about a person. So she used the first person present. Third person present. She is an absolute outsider. Outsider means a person, a strange person. So here you have to choose what point of view you are going to use, either first or third. There is. So if you want your novel to be told in the first person past or present, or third person past or present, it depends on your story. Then, types of point of view. A little bit complicated here. So, omniscient, third point of view, third person, she or he. So when I use she or he, it means that I'm looking into the heart and mind of everyone. It's like I'm an author, I'm writing, but I'm a watcher. I'm watching what the characters are doing. But at the same time, I know what I think, I know what I feel. So I say she feels so sad or something like that. I express what they feel. Inner limited. Look at life through only one character's heart and mind. Outer limited gives only what can be seen and heard, not what the characters are thinking. So the last one is used generally in theaters. We can only film what we see. Gives only what can be seen and heard. Okay. Now we have the sit-in. What is a sit-in in a novel? A sit-in is refers to a place or a time. We should have time and place, space, world building in your story. Of course, if you are an outliner, you have to outline every detail beforehand. But if you are a pencil, you cannot say everything right in the first chapter and describe every single detail and say where this took place in Victorian era in 1801 and describe everything. Just give us a glimpse throughout the story. Don't make the reader get bored. Don't just fall into info dumping and give us a lot of things at once. Now the plot. What is a plot? Is what happens in your story. It's the circumstances. A plot, it's like our life. We have problems, we have a lot of things. This is a plot. A plot should have tension, believability, and heart. Believability, it means that when you make problems to the character, we should believe in that. You don't create problems out of nothing. For example, a character goes to jail without doing anything. Going to jail is a problem, is a plot, so it is not believable because no reason for that. We cannot believe it. That's why when you create a problem to your characters, you have to be believable. Right. Tension here, increased tension. We're going to see it in the next slide. Okay, the components of the plot. So the plot should have conflict, problems, climax. Climax is the top of the problems. Everything is complicated. Suspense. Suspense, it's like an action movie when, for example, the hero is going to stop a bomb, and then you are just waiting and counting oh my God, he's gonna die. This is suspense. Yeah. And the last one is resolution. Resolution is at the end of the novel when everything is resoluted. So every novel has a three-act structure. In the first act, in the first act, we create problem of your characters. You have, for example, when you start a novel, you should not start with a beautiful living, etc. Just few lines or few pages, 2 pages, and then you starting throwing the problems to your characters. The first problem, of course, it's a little problem. Then in the act two, it means in the middle of your book, complicate the story with tension, holding out hope and throwing branches. In the act two, we are going to complicate a problem more than the first one, and here we are going to see the character acting according to his belief. For example, he has a problem. He tries to solve it according to what he knows. And third one, we complicate the story even harder, and the character is going to be at stake and is in danger, and he's going to lose something if he doesn't succeed to achieve this mission. So he is at risk. So here in this step, in Act 3, the character is going to change. He has to change his mentality in order to achieve. We call it the moment of realization, where the character is realized that it is important to change in order to save his life or save something. And resolution is the end of the story. It may be happy or unhappy. Unhappy may be someone would die at the end, because here in the Act 3 the mission is not completed. All the action is completed and everyone is happy. The protagonist is winning at the end. But generally the novels have happy ending. So I've just explained it here. Prologue, introduction, so the conflict and struggle, then crisis. Then here, you see here the climax is the top, is the epics of the character's life. It's like our life. We have certain moments in our life that we have to choose between this or this. So it is the moment you decide to change your life. This is the same here. It's the same here for our character. Voices. So what is a voice? Point of view and voice are a little bit tricky for authors that find it difficult to be adapted to it. What is a voice? A singer has a voice. So when I hear a singer, I recognize him. I say, oh, that's him. I know him because I know his voice. However, an author, a writer, you can't know his voice only through characteristics. He's not speaking, but he uses language. And here we have to make a character's voice. Each character has to have a voice, which means his own language, his own way of speaking, his own background. And also backgrounds make every person sorry. For example, a doctor may speak differently from a person that has never gone to school. That's why it means voice. And here, author's voice. Writer's voice is the way he's, okay. Hearing voices. So when I read a novel, I want to hear voices. Giving your characters voices. How? Through dialogue. When I read a dialogue, it means that one character is speaking, so I hear him. Making every character unique and real. How to make this? Each one has his own polar opposite. Make your character polar opposite means differently. Don't make a character use the same word for everyone. Everyone has his own style, his manners, his own speech. When he's angry, he says, for example, "Oh my God," and another character, when he's angry, is saying something else. So we have to be a polar opposite character. And conflict. Here, a conflict is a part of the plot. Conflict, it doesn't mean that it should be a problem outside, etc. It may be internal conflict, emotional conflict. Maybe he's shy, he has a problem because he lived his childhood in a very terrible situation. Intellectual conflict of idea. Internal conflict comes from the characters themselves, like psychological problems. It is also a problem, it is a conflict. External conflicts come from the outside, from the plot, the circumstances, what happens outside. Problems created by other characters, which is the protagonist. We have personal conflicts come from the innate issue, insecurities, etc. And here conflict should be either man versus man, man versus nature, like Moby Dick. You wanted to get revenge of nature. You wanted to kill the whale who carried his leg. Man versus society. This is conflict. It is a struggle, an extra force. It may be an extra force or an internal force. And here we just write. So since here you know the tips on how to write a novel, you don't have an issue. So you can just sit and choose a place and write, start writing, and just don't care about your editors and editing. Just create a first draft as possible as you can, 2 months or 3 months, and plan your characters, everything about your characters' personality, what they wear, what they say when they're angry, their name, everything. It's like everything, an interview of your characters, and create also a sitting beforehand and do research, read about your genre. Here is famous authors Stephen King and Henry Miller, J.K. Rowling, quote, "If you don't have time to read, you don't have time to write. Of course, if you don't read, you cannot write. That's how it works. Writing is in its own reward. Of course, what I see here in our country, in Algeria, that people do not write, we don't have, unfortunately, many writers who emerge in this world. That's why I did this to have people get into it. Because we don't have readers. Readers makes writers. And J.K. Rowling says, write the story you want to write, not the story you think others want you to write. So maybe sometimes you want to read a story, but you didn't know what kind of story you are writing. You are reading. So just write it. You have your imagination, your brain. Just write what you love. Because it's a long journey. If you're not passionate about it, you cannot succeed in it. And you may stop. That's what makes writer's block. Yeah, writer's block. And thank you very much for your attention. I hope you've gained some knowledge about how to start writing a novel, and you're a little bit satisfied that writing a novel is very important, and it increases your knowledge. It makes you a better person in society, and you may change too. So thank you very much for all the staff, and see you next time.